The deed is done. The unconscious body of the waiter slumps in the stall. It's the second one Rin has hidden like this. One on the first floor, now one on the second. She can't keep doing this. It's only a matter of time before someone finds them. The floor trembles. A muffled explosion rumbles through the ship. The lights flicker, then go out completely. In their place, dim red emergency lighting washes over everything. A moment later, the sprinklers activate. Then the alarms. "Come out, Jess." Rin hears Mira Khan's voice echoing down the corridor, calling for the woman Rin had recently impersonated. Mira must be tearing the place apart to find her. So what? With any luck, Mira would take care of Arjun Mira while she's at it. But Rin knows better than to count on luck. And then there's everyone else. Innocent people. Rin has trained herself not to get attached, not to care. Especially not about the rich and powerful aboard this ship. But if Mira Khan destroys the place, there will be casualties. That thought clenches Rin's chest like a vice and refuses to let go. She draws a deep breath and steels herself. Then she opens the door into the gallery. Bathed in the low crimson glow, Mira Khan stands in the center of the room. The air smells like scorched metal, hot and heavy. Beneath her clothes, something glows along her skin, fiery red in the shape of a bird. It's time for Rin to do what she does best. Here we go, a big confrontation between Mira Khan and Rin. But first, let's go ahead and do our beginning of the session chores. We're going to bump up our chaos factor from 7 to 8. Even though Rin passed some roles in the previous session, I think things still got way out of hand. Mira is now on a rampage, and I believe that was due to Rin's doing. Rin definitely edged her on in some way, and that caused that outbreak. And even though she was in control, I still think the chaos factor is still going to go up. And that's a narrative thing that I'm just going to go ahead and dish out here. Let's talk about our expected scene. What are we trying to accomplish this session? Well, Mira Khan needs to be dealt with, which means Rin is going to have to fight her. I don't think that Mira is going to listen to reason, and we'll get into that here in just a second when we go over her character stats. But I also don't think it's feasible for Rin to just sneak past her to the elevator, which is her ultimate goal, because in her mind, Arjun Mira is up on the 3rd floor, and that's where we want to be. Really, Mira is acting as a barrier to Rin's goals here. Mira can just upend everything, and we don't want that. Also, the elevator is going to have some high security. It's just not there where anybody can go and interact with. No, there's going to be some sort of a security in place to prevent people from just going up to the 3rd floor willy-nilly. Which means if Rin did go to the elevator, she's just gonna get caught anyways. Therefore, we need to take out Mira Khan. But things might be a little bit easier because we're going to introduce 2 new story tags for this scene. Darkness, because the lights turned out, we're working with emergency lights only, and that's like a dim red light that's blinking on and off. And the sprinkler system, which is now active, so everything is wet. We'll get into that in just a moment, though, and how relevant that really is. Before we get into that, though, I actually wanted to take a moment to get into creating challenges, because I realized that I never went through my process for creating Renji as a challenge, and this is the perfect opportunity. So let's take a look inside of the Metro Otherscape book and see what advice they have to give. Now, if you've actually taken the time to read through Metro Otherscape, then you know there's this whole section towards the end of the book where it's just wall after wall after wall of text, and that is the chapter on running the game. And for good measure, this is where you're going to get all of your advice. And there's actually a section called Creating Challenges. And this isn't just for NPCs that are a threat to your characters. This can actually be for environmental challenges that you have to go through, maybe traps and things like that. we're going to be dealing with an NPC threat, so that's where this conversation is going to be geared towards. There's going to be parts of a challenge profile. We have our description, which is, a general description of the character, which for now is Mira Khan. We have limits, which effectively act as the HP of the NPC, but it doesn't necessarily mean, wounds and things like that. We can convince somebody to our way of thinking. That can be a limit. We can hurt somebody so much that they finally tap out. That's a limit. Or we could subdue them, tie them with some rope or something like that. That's a limit. A limit is really anything that can effectively end a challenge. All characters have the same thing. They have tags, and when you get to a certain limit for a character, an actual named character like Rin, they're just out of the scene. So for actual characters, that limit is usually 5, and I think if you get to 6, it's permanent. For NPCs, it's usually between 2 and 6. If you do 1, then technically it's just a quick outcome, so it doesn't really make sense. Then we have base tags, and these are the tags that the NPC is going to have by default. These tags can be anything such as armor or muscles, superhuman muscles, or anything like that. And just like regular tags, they can be removed by normal with some sort of a weaken effect. Some challenges will have specials, and these are unique rules or unique additions to that specific challenge that really make things a little bit tougher. And then we have our threats and consequences. And if our character is not careful when interacting with this specific challenge, they're going to be dealt with these consequences. And that could be something that'll either weaken them or actually physically hurt them. When you're creating a challenge profile, the first thing that we're going to do, we're just going to start with a role or a feature. So each challenge has a role determining what it's meant to do. And this could be something like an asset or an attacker, a barrier or a hazard, countdown, mystery, pursuer, a target, temptation, or a watcher. Then we're going to define our limits. And just as I've said before, these are usually between 2 and 6. And once you do a tier that is up to their limit, they are effectively done for that scene. Sometimes a challenge can have immunities, so we'll have to be wary of that as well. Or maybe the challenge is transforming into something and there is a limit. And when they get to that limit, their stats radically change, as we'll kind of see with Mira Khan. Next, we're going to create our base tags and our statuses. And remember, these are the things that a challenge is going to have by default. If it's an NPC, they might have some items that can help them out. But it should be worth noting, we're not going to count each and every one of those items. If it doesn't have any relevance for the challenge, then we're just not going to use it as a tag. And really what tags are going to do for a challenge is it might make it harder for a character to actually perform an action towards them, or it might make it a little bit tougher to mitigate incoming status. After we create our base tags and our statuses, we're going to choose consequences and specials. And to me, some of this is actually optional because you might have something that comes up in the spur of the moment and you would need to react to it. And you might not have that written down. I mean, if you do, kudos to you. You were thinking way ahead. But for me, what I've kind of found out is that when Rin is doing a challenge of some sort, she might do something a little bit differently that I just came up with in the moment. And now I'm going to have to react to what she's doing. And really, if you've created your base tags and you've kind of set a description for that specific challenge, then you can just use that into creating a consequence that's natural. But at the same time, if you think ahead, you can actually come up with some pretty cool things. And these consequences and specials, they don't always have to be things that injure your character. Because if you're running a solo game like I am, the worst thing that you can do is to always injure your characters. there are different consequences that you can impose on a character. I mean, the GM screen or the book for Metro Otherscape has like a whole bunch of them. You can injure, which we kind of don't want to do all the time. You could obstruct their vision. You can subdue them. You can introduce fear or exhaustion, things like that. You don't always have to incur an injury. But at the same time, it has to make sense given the context of your challenge. Also, just because a character misses on a roll or they need a consequence, that doesn't mean you have to give them a status. That's also very important. You can escalate the situation, present a new challenge. You can deny them something that they want, or even make the future or the scene even bleaker. After we create our consequences and our statuses, this is where we're going to kind of create the narrative behind those statuses and consequences. This is where we create the threats. And these are just usually a description that you can tell your players, hey, this is something that's about to happen. You need to deal with this, or this is the consequence that you're going to receive. Now, the really cool thing is that both Metro Otherscape and Tokyo Otherscape have a really good challenge database. And these are NPCs that you can just take from the book and plug them into your game, and boom, you have a challenge ready to go. I've already used this several times in this playthrough with, I believe, one of the gang members, some of the Yakuza members. I've taken from these databases. In addition to that, we have something called power sets. So let's say that you did find something from the challenge database that you like, but it's not really specific to what you're looking for. Well, you might be able to make it a little bit better with a power set. And a power set, just like with creating a character, is something that you just take and you plug it right onto the challenge itself. It's going to have some specials and some threats and consequences to go with it. And these power sets can actually change the difficulty rating of a actual challenge. So do be careful when you do that. I will mention that Metro Otherscape has a few, but Tokyo Otherscape has way more. And they're also flavored with that, Japanese theme. So if you're looking for something that's Japanese influence, then definitely check out the Tokyo Otherscape book. How does this translate into Mira Khan? Well, first thing that I did is that I came up with a basic concept for her. I wanted her to have some sort of a mythos power. And so I've kind of come up with the Ho-Oh power, or the Ho-Oh mythology, the phoenix, the Japanese phoenix. Only with Mira, this mythos power is corrupted. We know that Mira Khan has a hot temper, and this is kind of where that corruption is going. For her tags and statuses, she has volatile strength and fiery aura, and pain is fuel. She's also going to start with bad temper too. Obviously, she's going through a rampage through the ship, so we're going to reflect that here. She's going to have a special. She's actually going to have two specials. Wrath of the Phoenix. So once per scene, Mira's temper gets the better of her, causing a fiery explosion, causing badly burned 4. Now, this only activates when bad temper reaches tier 6. She already starts at tier 2. Well, what's going to cause her temper to increase? Pretty much anything. Let's be realistic. If you're in a bad temper, it's just going to spiral out of control, usually, if someone's interacting with you in a way that isn't favorable to your situation. Her second special is regenerative healing. And really, I wanted something to go along with the Ho-Oh mythology, or the Phoenix mythology. So something that's going to grant some sort of healing power to her. But also, we need a way to mitigate that Wrath of the Phoenix if we're balancing things out. You don't have to balance it out, but since I am playing solo, I do need a little bit of balance. So here's what regenerative healing does. While pain is fuel is active, okay, that's one of her statuses, bad temper heals Mira that tier level. So if her bad temper is like at a tier 4, she's been hurt with a tier 4 status, it's going to heal that tier 4 status. here's where the balance kind of comes into effect. After we heal Mira Khan, we're going to reduce bad temper 2 tiers as Mira's confidence grows. And that's important because I'm putting a narrative spin as to why we're reducing bad temper. So she gets hurt, she can heal herself, and she grows confident that she can overcome her opponent, which is going to cause her bad temper to lower. So for threats, what do we have? Well, she's got a phoenix tattoo. I don't think I've actually explained that, or I guess she has a Ho-Oh tattoo. So one of the threats is going to be that it's going to glow brilliantly. Even through her clothes, you're going to be able to see that bird glow. And she's going to enter a fighting stance. So she can do a fire blast, which is going to be her distance attack, and that's going to do singed 1. And then she's got a fire punch, which is more of a melee close combat type of a deal, and that's going to deal scorched 2. In addition to that, we need some way to increase bad temper so we can get to the Wrath of the Phoenix special. And so another threat is going to be Mira yells in anger, and the heat turns up and her bad temper is going to increase by 1. And that's really all that I am doing here. Anything else can be extra. It could be something that I think of in the spur of the moment, something that's natural that would fit with Mira. But I'm not going to list, in this situation, this is going to happen, or if this happens, then she's going to react this way. No, that's just way too much work. This should be narratively coherent. It should make sense. It should flow. If Rin attacks her, then the natural consequence is going to be she's going to get upset and her bad temper is going to increase. She might be able to even do some cool stuff with her Ho-Oh power that I just haven't thought of yet. Like maybe she has an area of attack consequence that I can use if it happens to come up. Also, I don't think I've said what her limits are. Her limits are 4, hurt, or subdue. And really, subdue is kind of an iffy one because if I'm being honest, she's just going to burn right through it. So I just think, honestly, hurt, 4 hurt is going to be the way to go here. And with that, Rin is going to slowly open the door and look out into the grand staircase area. There she is. Mira Khan is standing right there at the top of the stairs, and she's glowing. There's like this residual heat coming off of her, and even as Rin opens, she can smell that there must have been like some sort of an explosion somewhere because she's got that fiery, smoky smell. The red lights above Mira are blinking, and it's raining with all of the sprinkler water. And as it hits Mira's skin, it kind of sizzles and leaves a little bit of smoke coming off of her skin. Even from this distance, Rin can hear Mira breathing heavily. Now, remember, Rin does not look like herself or Jess, who was the person that she took the appearance of in the last session. She looks like a waiter, someone from the staff. But she still has that foxtail. And that could be an identifying factor for Mira to spot Rin. For now, we have 2 story tags. We have darkness and we have the sprinkler water, which may or may not come up. Rin is going to slowly leave the bathroom and close it. She's going to kind of crouch down, lift up her pant leg, and reach in there and pull out her special kunai. This was pretty much the only thing that she brought with her, aside from the special poison. Can't use the poison on Mira Khan, but we can use the special kunai. So with the darkness, Rin is going to sneak up behind Mira and attempt to do a sneak attack. She wants to take her out in one go. Now, what tags are we going to use for our sneak attack? Definitely trained assassin. Definitely special kunai, because that's what we're using. We are going to use trained in ninjutsu because this is also combined with stealth in a way. And honestly, I really think that's it. Rin can tell that Mira Khan is going to be a formidable challenge. She's going to deal damage, and she doesn't want to have to worry about being nice and just incapacitating them. What I'm trying to say is, if she ends up killing Mira, then so be it. We're not going to mark decay for Trained Assassin just yet because we haven't actually killed Mira Khan. So far our power is 3, but Mira's also got some tags of her own. And really, the one that comes to mind is Pain is Fuel. So we're gonna be effectively working with a power of 2. All right, let's take our dice and let's get this combat started. A 3 and a 6 make 9, plus our 2 is 11. That is a strong hit. That means we get the full success without any of the consequences. That means we can deal a tier 2 status to Mira, and well, we're in this to hurt her, so it's going to be an injury. Now, I also forgot about darkness, and that's actually going to add another +1 to our total power. So we actually have a power of 3. My bad, but I did catch it early enough that we can actually use it. So what can we actually do? We can automatically deal a tier 3 injury to Mira and then go for the kill, but what else can we do? Well, we can actually disrupt Mira, so we can give the target a hindering tag or a status of some sort. That's always nice. We can weaken, so remove a target's useful tag or a status. That would be nice, but if I'm speaking honestly, there's only one status or tag that I think would realistically apply here, and that would be Pain is Fuel. We hurt her so much that it's no longer fueling her temper, I guess. And what Rin is going to do is she's going to use the darkness to her advantage. She's basically going to use a hit and run strategy here. She's going to come up behind Mira and just run past her and stick her kunai in very quickly where it hurts. Mira's going to try to turn around and, backhand, but Rin is already gone. And so we're going to deal an injury tier 1 status to Mira, but we're also going to deal a confused tier 2 status. And basically what I'm doing is I'm using disrupt. So it is the cost of 1 power per status tier. Rin hears Mira yell out in frustration, and she's going to go back in to do it again. She's going to use the darkness to her advantage and try to get Mira where it hurts. We're going to use the same tags as before, so Trained Assassin, Special Kunai, Trained in Ninjutsu, and we're also going to have that Darkness story tag here going for us, and we're just gonna go ahead and roll and see what happens. Again, Rin is not really concerned with subduing Mira. She's just gonna do as much damage and try to whittle her down. It doesn't matter if she dies or not. So let's see what happens. A 6 and a 6 make 12 plus our 3 power. That is 15. And so Rin is going to basically dash close to Mira, stab her again, but this time she actually has a goal in mind, not just to incapacitate Mira. She wants to use Mira's frustrations, and as she passes her, she begins to feel that fiery aura, that heat kind of coming off of Mira. So Mira turns around, and Rin allows her to spot her just a glimpse because she wants Mira to attack. And so with our extra 2 power, because I'm only going to deal injured tier 1, which is going to bump it up to injured tier 2, we're going to have Mira do like a fiery blast, and Rin is going to be able to dodge out of the way just in time because right behind her is the elevator door. Mira just extends her hands out before her, and this, I guess, a weak fireball, because it is technically raining here, just smashes against the elevator door, smashing it in. Hey, at least the door is open now. Of course, Rin is already out in the darkness, so she's still using that to her advantage, and she is going to come up for another sneak attack here. And, well, I think this time we are going to go ahead and use the kill only the target weakness here, because we really don't want to kill somebody who's not our mark or our target. So we're going to use Trained Assassin, Special Kunai. We're going to use Trained in Ninjutsu, and we have the Darkness as our cover for the sneak attack, but we are going to suffer Kill Only the Target weakness, bringing our power down to 3. All right, here we go. A 6 and a 5 make 11 plus 3. Well, that's 14. Hey, that was one less than last time. These dice are very lucky. Like, I'm noticing. I'm rolling a lot of 5s and 6s. And let's be honest, our first 3 rolls of this session were just strong hits. So, I don't know. These dice, they're not cursed like my Metro Otherscape dice. Well, we still aren't getting a consequence, so Rin is just ducking in and out of the darkness here, or cover, or whatever she's doing, and she's striking Mira when she can. With that 3 power, we're basically just dealing another tier 3 injury to Mira, so we only need to really hit her one more time, and, well, let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to be using the same tags from the previous roll and applying it here, even Kill Only the Target. The only difference is, as a house rule, I really only use weaknesses once per scene. I can use a weakness, multiple times per scene, but I'm only going to get the benefits of the upgrade once per scene. That's kind of the way that I like to do things. It makes it so I can't just, keep doing the same weakness over and over again and just, really getting upgrades for specific tags, if that makes any sense. By the way, my Trained Assassin tags is at 2 upgrades, as is my Kitsune Charm of Trickery. I don't have anything for Shadow Academy, and my Tough as Nails has 1 upgrade and 1 DK. So let's go ahead, take our dice, and see what we're gonna roll with this time. A 4 and a 1 make 5, but remember, I'm rolling with 3 power here, so that's going to bump that up to 8. So what would have been a miss is now just a mixed hit. So we actually do get a consequence this time. We're going to be using Regenerative Healing because Pain is Fuel is still active. We are going to reduce Bad Temper 2 tiers. So that is really going to get rid of her bad temper, because now she's very confident and her injuries are starting to heal themselves. So we see like the injuries that Rin has put all over Mira's body start to close on themselves. So Mira has a tier 1 and tier 3 for injured. She's got Confused 2, which I haven't really done anything with. And so we're going to keep this going. Mira spots Rin and she begins to grin as her wounds heal. She's now spotted Rin, which means we're going to go ahead and get rid of Darkness. I think this fight has always been in our favor thus far, so let's go ahead and add a handicap for us. So Darkness is now going away. We can no longer use Darkness for the purposes of this combat unless something changes and Mira loses track of Rin again, which would allow us to do more sneak attacks. So now it is one-on-one, and Mira sees this woman before her poised to attack with a kunai, and she's a little bit confused at first because she doesn't know who this woman is. This waiter is now attacking her for like no reason at all. But then she spots the silver tail behind her. Things just don't quite click into place, but this person is trying to hurt her, possibly kill her, so it's time for some payback. Rin, on the other hand, is going to rush forward and attempt to attack. So we are going to use Trained in Ninjutsu, the Special Kunai, and Trained Assassin. We are not going to use Darkness, and Pain is Fuel is active, so that's going to take away a power from us. So we have a power of 2. Let's go ahead and roll and see what happens. A 5 and a 2 make 7, plus another 2 make 9. So we still get that mixed success here. So we are going to suffer a consequence this time as we deal a tier 2 injured status to Mira. So she has a tier 1, tier 2, and tier 3 on her injured status card. What is our consequence going to be? Well, Rin did try to get up there close, and Mira is just going to turn up the heat. We can see some like the heat coming off of her fist, almost like fire, and she's just gonna punch at Rin. Now we do get to mitigate that. So right now on the table we have Scorch tier 2 going towards Rin, so we can try to mitigate that with our mitigation tags. And for mitigation purposes, we're going to use Tough as Nails, and we are going to use Anticipate Attack from our Kitsune Charm of Trickery. Those are our 2 tags. Now, unfortunately, Mira hits pretty hard. She's got Volatile Strength, which is going to take 1 away, and we're also going to use Fiery Aura because the heat has been turning up, and that is possibly going to injure Rin as well. So we are effectively working with 0 power. Let's roll and see what happens. A 4 and a 1 make a 5. Unfortunately, with our 0 power, that's all that we got. So Rin is going to take the full brunt of the force of this fire punch, and she now has a Scorched tier 2 status. The blow catches Rin in the shoulder, and she kind of like spins back and away from Mira. The heat has scorched her, going through her clothes, and we see like this faint burnt mark where her skin is exposed. But she's not out of the fight yet. She needs to take Mira down, and fast before this escalates. Rin is going to, what can she do? If she can just land one more blow, because Mira's not looking so good herself. So if she can get in there and take her out quickly before anything else is done, then she might come out of this alive. I think that's really what we gotta do. Mira is kind of there in that fighting stance waiting for Rin, and Rin is going to dash forward with her special kunai. Trained Assassin, Special Kunai, Trained in Ninjutsu are the tags that we're using. Of course, Mira has Pain as Fuel, which is going to bump that down. I guess we should only kill the target, so we are going to effectively only work with 1 power here. So let's roll and see what happens. Uh-oh. A 2 and a 1 make 3, plus our other 1 make a 4. Our luck has just ran dry, unfortunately. Means we're just getting a consequence here. So Rin charges face first to meet Mira, and as her kunai whips about to stab her, Mira's gonna catch it right there with her fiery hand. Now we gotta make our mitigation roll. Tough as Nails and really Anticipate Attack is the only thing. Mira is getting ready to catch Rin's arm and, well, burn her yet again. So let's see if we can try to mitigate some of that damage. Oh, but wait, Mira has some tags too. She's got Volatile Strength and the Fiery Aura, which is going to bump our mitigation roll to 0. See, that sprinkler system wasn't such a bad idea now, was it? Let's roll and see what happens. 3 and 3 make 6, and if we only had +1 power, we could have mitigated 1 of those tiers. Oh wait, I forgot, the sprinkler system is going off. So that is going to grant us the extra power we need for +1 power, which means we're only taking Scorched tier 1. With that mixed hit though, Rin's wrist is going to go right into Mira's grasp, but she realized that a little bit too late as she feels that heat going into her skin. She jumps up and kicks Mira, and she falls back and away, getting out of Mira's grasp. And she does that whole, you fall on your back and then you get back up kind of a deal. And she's, well, I think what we got to do, we need that darkness. And I think what we're going to do is Rin is going to try to hide. Can she do it? I don't know. Let's see. What can we use for this? Definitely Trained in Ninjutsu. That is the one that makes the most sense. And we're also going to use Darkness. And I know that I said before that we could not use Darkness for the purposes of this, for the rest of this combat. But at the same time, we're trying to use the Darkness to our advantage. And so we are going to dash back and away into the darkness to try to block line of sight for Mira. So we're really only going to be using 2 power here. So let's roll and see what happens. A 2 and a 5 makes 7, plus another 2 make 9. So that is a mixed hit. I know exactly what we're going to do here. Rin is going to run away and go into the darkness. And she's going to attempt to lose Mira's sight. She's going to duck into the private gallery. And she's going to hide out there until Mira hopefully chases her. Mira, on the other hand, we do have a consequence. And the consequence is going to be, she's going to yell in anger. And she's going to turn up the heat. And she's going to, reactivate her bad temper. With that being said, she's going to go stomping after Rin. Come out, wherever you are, little fox. Now, I do have a question for the fate chart here. Because we're going into a private gallery, like an actual art gallery. What are the chances that there are just some statues hanging about? Kind of thinking of like Deus Ex, that one boss fight where the statues... Well, okay, let's not have the statues move, because that would just be really weird. But are there statues in here? We are at a chaos factor of 8. I think it's very likely that there are. So that's a 95% chance or lower. So let's see what we roll. A 93. Oh, that was very close. Yes, there are statues here, thankfully, because Rin is going to use that. And that's going to be a story tag here for the moment. So we have darkness and the statues that we can pose as. So Mira stomps into this private gallery. And remember, the red lights are flashing on and off as the sprinkler system is going. How long do those things last anyway? I mean, we're on a boat. Well, I'm just kind of assuming that it's pulling like water up from underneath for the purposes of the sprinkler system. That's how my brain is going to perceive that future. So we're going to roll with that. And so Mira is going to look around for Rin, but she's already posing as one of the statues. All right. We are going to wait until Mira gets close. And that is when Rin is going to strike. What tags are we going to use for this attack? Well, we're going to use our usual trained assassin, trained in ninjutsu, the special kunai. We do have the story tags that I've just created. One was darkness, the other one was the statues that Rin is now hiding out in. Now, the thing is, I'm still kind of on the fence about whether story tags actually stack. So leave a comment down below if you have a definitive answer. But the way that I'm going to rule it is that these story tags, these environmental story tags, are basically coming in as a set. And so what that does is it effectively increases the potency of your story tag. So it's going to give me a +2 power here. Also, I am going to invoke the kill only target. So that's going to be only 4 power. And Mira has pain as fuel, which is going to bump down our total power down to 3. Let's go ahead and roll and see what happens. This could be it. 4 and 1 make 5, but with that 3 power, we have 8. That is a mixed hit. Rin is going to come out of the shadows, and her kunai is going to hit Mira in a very vulnerable spot, but she's not going to hit any vital signs. She's just going to keep on stabbing and stabbing and stabbing. Now that I say that, it's pretty obvious what our consequence has to be. We're going to activate regenerative healing. As Rin stabs Mira Khan in the back, avoiding vital signs, mind you, Mira is going to grin, and the wounds begin to heal themselves. And so, let's see, with our tier 3, that would have just bumped it up to 4, so we're just gonna get rid of the 4 anyways. But at the same time, Mira is all out of fuel here, not pain as fuel, but like bad temper fuel. Things are getting very dire for her. And I think Rin is going to seek this opportunity just to quickly strike while Mira is down. Well, she's not really down, while she's healing herself. So we're just going to try to go ahead and deal the final blow. Unfortunately, we've kind of used our element of surprise, so we don't get that anymore. So Trained Assassin, Special Kunai, Trained in Ninjutsu are going to be the 3 main tags here. We are also got Pain is Fuel and Kill Only the Target. So we're working with 1 power here. So let's see what we're gonna roll. We just need a mixed hit. And that is not it, because 2 plus 1 is 3 plus our 1 power make that 4. I think what's going to happen here is that Mira is going to quickly turn around and backhand Rin, dealing some scorching damage. So we're going to try to mitigate that. But remember, Mira has volatile strength and fiery aura, going towards tough as nails and anticipate attack. So we got 0 power for this roll. Let's see what we get. 5 and a 2 is a mixed hit. We are going to mitigate 1 of that damage going to us. And so we're just going to have, we're at actually Scorched Tier 3 now. So we're not doing so good. Rin is going to grit her teeth as this fiery fist hits her like close to the neck, burning her skin. I think what's going to happen is that Mira is now facing Rin, and it's very apparent that Rin, even in her illusion, is shorter than Mira. And Mira's just going to be like, I don't know who you are, but you're messing with the wrong woman. And she's going to do that whole, wipe off her lip or maybe spit some blood on the floor. Should Rin try to run away? She's already kind of accomplished the thing that she needs. She just needs to go back into the elevator. But at the same time, she also can't let Mira stay around here. I think Rin has to try to finish the fight. Better to die than to fail a contract, right? Only this isn't a contract, so... I think if she ran now, that would definitely be a mark against her pride. Trained Assassin. Special Kunai. Trained in Ninjutsu. All down to Kill Only the Target, Pain is Fuel. We're working with 1 power here. We're gonna see if we can finish it off with this last roll. 6 and 2, that's an 8. Plus 1 is a 9. We've dealt that final status for Mira. Now, you're probably wondering why I am not going to use regenerative healing this time. And really, I think a natural progression of this specific special is that if we don't have bad temper, like we have a tier 0 bad temper, which is basically non-existent, then we don't get to use regenerative healing. This time, Rin is going to challenge Mira face to face. And she's going to quickly strike with her special kunai. But we do need to mitigate something. Now here's the thing. If we were going off of my earlier advice way back when, probably remember me saying don't always use injuries as a consequence. And I think what we're going to do here is actually adhere to my own advice. What we're going to do here is I'm not going to use any of the consequences listed on Mira's stats or sheet here. Instead, what we're going to do is we're going to take away something. Rin stabs Mira 1 last time in a non-vital area, mind you, and she feels this blast of heat just envelop her. This is enough to cause her to stagger back a little bit, maybe even push her back in a way as Mira collapses down to the ground, her blood mixing with the water that's been going on for who knows how long, but she is unconscious. She is done for. Unfortunately for Rin, she looks down at herself. She's burnt in several different places. Her neck, shoulder, wherever else she's been attacked. But that's not the only thing. The most pressing concern is that her disguise is gone. She looks exactly like she should. She is not this waiter or Jess. She is now Rin. In her very elegant red gown, mind you, but she is Rin. Rin notices that Mira's body, which is laying there, is still sizzling from the sprinkler system. But then the sprinkler system suddenly goes off. You still have the red flashing lights, the emergency lights. But then Rin starts to hear some voices out in the grand staircase. "All right, take a look around. I want that suspect found. I want whoever did this, and I want them now." Security has just arrived.
Check back every other Thursday for a new episode of Table for One, a solo role-playing podcast. If you would like to support this podcast, please rate it or give it a thumbs up wherever you happen to be listening from. If you happen to be watching on YouTube, subscribe and be sure to leave a comment. Music was provided by Tabletop Audio and Artlist with AI voice work by 11 Labs.